know that guy. Hey, why'd you bring metal with you?
I don't know what happened.
Welcome to the Solid Sound Podcast. We're going to be talking about BABYMETAL. Shane and I met up in Dallas, and I got to start with this first. We recorded our review like immediately after the concert because we're like, we have to record right afterwards so we can like get our excitement, because I always feel so hyped up afterwards, and then we just say everything that comes to our mind. And we recorded this whole entire video, and we're like, oh, great, cool, we got it. And then I went back to Janine's, and I went to go edit the video, and Shade's phone didn't accept the mic or something, or it didn't plug in all the way, and the audio was so horrible. I was like, I don't know what to do. I put some AI isolation on it, didn't work, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, what can I do? What the hell can I do to fix this? I'm like, track separator, and it fucking worked. I dropped it in the track separator and then did the double vocal separation, and it like separated Shades and my voice out of it. It's not the best, but it actually worked pretty well.
I was impressed because on my end, the audio didn't sound horrible, but it definitely didn't sound like it was mic'd up. It sounded like the phone was recording the audio. It makes sense that you had to do some magic.
You should have.
It didn't sound bad, but it wasn't great.
You should have saw my face when I opened the video and I heard Janine's voice super clear when she said go. I was like, uh-oh, yeah. That means that was the iPhone mic. But anyways, we got it up. So if you want to check out our reaction immediately afterwards to that BABYMETAL concert, check out that first. But we're just going to give a breakdown, go song by song, and see if we missed anything.
Before we do the breakdown, Alan, I do want to point out one thing, because you left this part out of the storytelling element of what you just said to everybody. The text you sent me, by the way, was out of context, and you just said, the audio didn't work, with no context. You just said the audio didn't work. And my first thought was, oh shit, the interview didn't get recorded. And so I didn't think it was the post chat. You just said the audio didn't work. And I was like, there's no way we can redo that. So at least we're still going to talk about this. So you gave me a jump scare last night.
So track separator really good for fixing audio, apparently. I had to do a lot of EQing and compression just to get our voices like even to match it out. It took me a good minute, but we got it up. It's out. You guys can check it out after this podcast. We'll have the interview with, I don't want to mess up his name, Giant from Bloodywood. Giant. Remember that. Giant from Bloodywood. I got it right when I met him, but lack of sleep. I just did my 3-hour set on Friday. I flew to Dallas to this concert, just flew back literally 10 minutes ago, and then I got another 3-hour set after this. So the weekend's almost over, though. It's almost over. It's getting there. All right, so BABYMETAL concert. This was your first time ever seeing BABYMETAL live, so take it away, Shade.
Man, yeah, so they had the two opening acts, Bloodywood and Black Veil Brides, and they were fun. They were fun. I do wish that they swapped the order a little bit, but Bloodywood got the crowd pumped up in the beginning, so maybe, I don't know. It was cool.
Something I remembered after our talk was that they always alternate the openers. So I wonder if Bloodywood opens sometimes before BABYMETAL and then Black Veil Brides opens for BABYMETAL. That's what they did a while back for their shows.
I'd be really curious about what happened at Houston on Friday. Did Bloodywood come out second at Houston and they're just alternating opening acts?
Yeah, that's what they did last time with Death Clock and I can't remember the other group that was with them. I know it's Jason Richardson and Death Clock. Was it another act? I can't remember.
I think that was it.
That was it, right?
I think it was just Jason Richardson. Then there was a switch between Death Clock and BABYMETAL depending on the venue.
Neo said Bloodywood was first. Kevin said Bloodywood was first in Houston. Okay, so maybe that's just the order.
That is just absolutely fucking wrong. They need to not do that. Bloodywood needs to open for BABYMETAL. It just makes sense. Nothing against Black Veil Brides. They're great and stuff. Not my thing. Very just boring for me. It just was. They're all great musicians, but it was just boring for me. But if they were the first band, that's pretty cool because there's some badass music to set it off. And then you got Bloodywood like ramping up the upbeatness, and then you got BABYMETAL that just like completely obliterates everything.
Yeah, if they did it the opposite way, it'd be like a crescendo of excitement and anticipation up until BABYMETAL, because like Bloodywood just literally just brings it the entire set. Like for 60 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever it was, it was like 100% the entire time. Yeah. But yeah, the BABYMETAL portion, man, I've seen so many of their concerts now, like on YouTube and watching from like the master file of all the concerts recorded over the years. I feel like I've seen like hundreds of performances of these songs, and seeing it live in person with the entire crowd just jumping and singing along to Washoys and like the Sautés and stuff like that from the crowd moments was just insane. And then, of course, Road to Resistance was wild. The Wall of Death, the actual like mosh pit going on during Road to Resistance was epic. Yeah, they know how to capture an audience and just put it on. I'd be curious to see the perspective of that show from someone who was like seated the whole time or like in the lawn for some of those moments, because like they had the visual of seeing the pit going crazy while also seeing the stage. And when you're in the pit getting bumped around and shoving and going crazy, like you lose some of the scope because it's so rapid and it's just crazy. So I'd be curious to hear how the show sounded and how it looked from someone who had the full perspective.
I wasn't out all the way in the field, but I was out in the stand sitting on a seat, and it felt the same no matter where I went. It sounded just as good to me.
That's
so
cool.
When I was in the seats, it sounded great. It sounded fantastic. I loved the mix, the whole thing. Only Black Veil Brides was the weakest mix out of all of them. Couldn't hear the vocals that well. They had a really heavy backing track presence that he was relying on, which sucks.
His screams were really fucking good.
Yeah, because the screams
were really good
he was
live.
doing. Yeah, he has amazing
But all
screams.
of his cleans vocals was just lost. It was hard to hear him.
He's a good vocalist, but there was backing tracks 100%, and I feel like they put him a little louder than they were supposed to, except for the screams. The screams, you can hear them really raw. You could tell the difference between Bloodywood screaming and doing their vocals and then them. There's a huge difference. Like where you can hear like with the audio. So there's just a different way that they mixed it. But I do know Black Veil Brides does a lot more production, a lot more mixing. They put extra guitar tracks and stuff like that and everything.
Yeah.
So different beast, different era too of like how they do music.
Also, we also should probably talk about the woes of the priority access VIP bullshit that happened. So I doubt this will happen at other venues. I think it was just a Toyota Music Factory thing, but there was people lined up all day. All right, people got there really early in the morning, numbers on their hand and all of that. They allow the check-in for the VIP, so everyone gets shuttled into the venue. They get your VIP thing, you get your lanyard. And we're all waiting inside the venue, kind of lined up respectively to like where people were. And then they just started pushing people out, like yelling, hey, there's fire marshal's pissed. Everyone needs to get out. Like the tone of which they were saying was like
they were hurting us like cattle.
Fed up. They were just fed up. And then a lot of people who had been waiting in line lost their spot, and it's like that sucks. Like one of the guys from my Discord, his name's Zertix, he's probably in the chat here. He was there since 8:30 in the morning, and he lost his spot, so he didn't even get the rail. He had to stand next to my dumbass the whole time.
That's pretty messed up.
That sucked.
I think when Champ and I saw BABYMETAL in New York, that was a great experience. It was really cool. We had like perfect seats, but on this show, this was by far the best performance I've ever seen with BABYMETAL live. And I think right now it is the closest I think I've gotten to that Japan experience, even though it's nowhere near it. It's the closest so far because of Champ. The difference between this BABYMETAL concert, what we saw, is they had all the screens and stuff set up. Like they have a 3-piece screen thing going on, and then they're on a little pedestal that lifts them up and has more screens under it. So we got more of that experience, how they do it in Japan and stuff, Champ. It was like that. It wasn't like when we saw them where it was way more stripped back. It looks like they got a tremendous budget this time around. It was like it wasn't packed at first, but like when BABYMETAL went on, whole pit was all packed, and then all the seats filled up very quickly, and then the yard was all standing. I was like, oh shit, there's a lot of people here. There's way more than I thought. And I'm curious how many people flew in too, because when it came back to El Paso, there was a couple of BABYMETAL fans that had shirts on when we were flying back this morning.
What was the venue that they were at?
Toyota Music Factory, the Pavilion. I thought I had been there before, and I was wrong. I had never set foot in there before.
Yeah, no, I've never been there.
I was confident I'd been there when I booked the tickets months ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I've been there. It's a cool venue. And then I got there and realized it was outdoor. And then, again, this is just the common sense just completely leaving my fucking brain for this. It's called the Pavilion. Of course it's outside. Like, of course it's outside. It didn't even cross my mind. We were cover the whole time. It was just hot because of all the people, especially when BABYMETAL started and the entire pit collectively got 4 feet closer to the stage. And so everyone up front was like,
dude,
pushed in. We got real comfortable with each other.
So in the seats, though, it was pretty bad because the sun was coming down and we're getting just fucking toasted on the right side of your face. So being in the pit was definitely better to be there during that time. But finally,
do you think the show was sold out?
I don't know.
Had to be close.
They could have stuffed more people.
So like the amount of actual seats, I would guess maybe 500, maybe 1,000 seats total. But there was like the lawn and the pit had to be 6,000 or 7,000 people.
Yeah, they
like,
qualify it at 8,000 capacity. I don't know what they mean by capacity though, because it's hard to tell. Like when there's a standing room, what are they talking about? How many people can fit side by side like that?
I would assume it's based off the fire marshal standards of like how many people are safely allowed to be on the lawn, how many people can safely be in the pit, and then they sell tickets according to that number that's aligned. And we know the fire marshals care because they kicked everyone out. So we know that they're involved.
That's the first time I've ever had anything like that happen to me or anyone even give a fuck. Because I remember the Hanabiye one, they really needed a fire marshal before they like blew up. We were in this small little show and like we could barely fit in the fucking building and we're just stuffing ourselves in there. It was insane. I know people are going to want to know about this. We got the set list right here. This BABYMETAL Death was the first song they started off with. This has been pretty common. I think at most of the shows I've seen is always BABYMETAL Death, Megasune, Papaya, or something along those lines. Definitely these 5, BMC, Metal E. And then we had Con. So we got Con, which just talk about real quick. It was awesome. It was so cool to see it live because I just recorded a reaction to a fan cam. So the fact that I could watch the fan cam and then see it live, holy crap, it's fucking way better than that fan cam. It's very cool. Song 3, we had a little bit of a gripe about this one because it was a lot of tracks for the vocals, but it still was heavy as hell. But
the Kami band brought it, man.
It was like spectacular. And we were talking about this during our review. We wish they had more of a spotlight. We really do. Because this was the best like Kami band instrumental I've seen in person. Whoever mixed BABYMETAL for this gig did a fantastic job. I could hear the solos so clear. They were amazing. They sounded fantastic throughout the whole thing. But during song 3, I had a revelation while I was listening to them. It sounds like fucking the Yoshi noises from Yoshi's Island. I'm going to put it together when I edit this video later. I'm going to put them in there. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. I'm like, why is that so familiar when I was like, that when they do those chopped up vocals? I'm like, that fucking sounds like Yoshi. That's what that noise. No, when she does it, when Yoshi does it, yes, when you have that, like when they do that.
That was pretty good, Alan. That was pretty good.
Then we had Headbanger, which was amazing. Ratatata.
Oh, that was so cool.
Came out. Gimme Chocolate.
I wasn't expecting as long of a headbang. Like when I don't know how to describe that part of the song, but I know everyone knows what I'm talking about. Whenever they do the scream. Yeah.
If you don't break your neck, you're not doing it right.
When Momo and Moa come out and like, get everyone headbanging, I knew they were going to do that. They do it every time. I wasn't expecting them to do it for as long as they did. And that was super cool.
Yeah. Then we got From Me to You with the Poppy collab. We got Karate. Bro, I was so happy to hear Karate, dude, when it came out.
That was crazy.
I felt bad for Shade. I was like fucking singing in his ear, I think.
I was just punching the air too. He was next to me singing. I was just like,
They ended it with Road to Resistance. I really appreciated it. They played a lot of new songs. They played like all of their collabs almost. BMC, I forgot about this. They didn't put F-Zero's rap in it. They just had a guitar solo instead.
Yeah, that's Papaya. You're thinking of Papaya.
Oh, yeah, Papaya. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. Not BMC. Papaya, yeah. They put a solo instead of the rapping. Why do you think they did that? Because that kind of threw me off a little bit.
The money thing, man. Apparently they've been doing that. This is not me knowing from like my own experience, but just other people telling me. Apparently they've been doing that for the last couple of tours. They took his part out, and I think it's about licensing. It's probably about paying for having his image used on the live show. I couldn't tell you because everything's so behind. Like
you can still hear his vocals on certain parts though, so that's why I'm not sure if that's
but it's the image on the screen.
Oh,
I bet it's the image on the screen, and so I'm assuming that. I wouldn't know.
Let me clarify. F-Zero's rap was taken out. He was in his voice is still in the other parts of the mix. Like he's not completely taken out. Maybe they came to an agreement where they just took out only the rap part. But there was another. Yeah, no, they do show the face of all the people that collabed. So I wonder.
Except him.
But that would be weird that he would even have some licensing dispute. I'm sure it's something to do with management. Hey, if you guys all know, let us know. Could be copyright performance rights. Yeah, this is my favorite BABYMETAL concert. I am totally convinced to try to get tickets to that November one now because I do want to see a one-man show. Check out our Patreon, guys, if you want to support us. We're going to try to get a whole like live podcast and set something up in November for the BABYMETAL concert. And then we'll set up a venue like we did with the Bandmade one, and then we'll just have a live podcast. What do we do before and after the show? Yeah, if anyone knows a good venue spot or something like that, hit us up. Let us know in the Discord. We definitely want to plan something. Because after seeing that concert, I'm like, dude, I have to see like a one-man show type.
Especially with more production too, because that was already next level compared to the other two acts. And obviously the venue is going to be limited to what you can do, where you can do it, but... Yeah. when they have like their entire stadium, they have the entire Intuit Dome to be able to build out what they want to do, it's going to be insane.
After watching this concert, something that really stood out to me that I'm excited for in the future, not anything to do with Baby Metal, is Bloodywood. I want to see what Bloodywood can do with some serious production, because they're already good without the production, but imagine if they get some good ass production with their sound.
If they add like visuals, they add the lights, they add the smoke and the fire, like things like that would really elevate their performance even to a new high, because they're already, like you said, already insane.
I think there'll totally be a DVD for LA. I really do. Have you listened to a lot of Bloodywood, Champ?
No, I've only heard the song with Baby Metal.
Oh, wow. Okay, we're going to have to show you some songs. We'll definitely get Champ in the loop.
Just thinking about what you guys were just talking about and adding a little bit of pomp and circumstance to the live shows and some extra production. There's a part of me, and obviously I didn't see the show with you guys, but there's a part of me that like really appreciates the rawness. I like most of the time when it's just the band like on stage playing the music that I know and saying how good they are at it, rather than having a ton of production around it to enhance it. Because I really want to know how good they are as a band, like a live band, rather than wanting to know how good their production team is.
Let me clarify production. I'm talking about, I want to hear exactly what you're talking about, but I want the surroundings better production. You know
visually?
Yeah, visually. Like, I love the extra visuals, because you can still hear Sue really raw, which I was so thankful for, because sometimes they'll overdub her like too much, but no, it's perfect. You could hear her raw voice, except for song 3. Song 3 was a little weird. They did a lot of backing with that.
That was one of the issues when we went to see them. And I think it was because of the more intimate setting and there was a lot less people there. I think that venue only held like 1,700 people or something. The sound isn't the same. So it was almost hard to tell what was live and what wasn't, because everything was so compact into one sound, rather than a larger area where things can be broken up depending on where you're standing and stuff.
And I get what you're saying. Like, New York City was great, but Champ, this was on a whole other fucking level.
Oh, I believe it. Like, they couldn't do anything at New York City.
You could hear Kami Band. Like, you could hear it when they're riffing off. Like, they made sure whatever tracks they had were all the way down at this concert. It was great, at least for the instruments. Like, you could feel the raw fucking instruments, the raw drums. You could hear all the drum mistakes, because there was some drum mistakes, but you could tell, like, it was there. The feel, you could tell that, like, Barone had a little slowdown, but kept sped back up. I think it was in the beginning. It was funny. I was like, oh yeah, they're doing the real shit. You know what I mean?
It's almost like the difference between a street performer versus a Vegas show. Both are enjoyable. Now that I've seen that raw version of Bloodywood, I'd like to see what they're able to do.
I think you could keep Bloodywood the same for the sound. I just want to see the visuals around them enhance and to match their energy. Because the problem when you're on a stage that big, you look so small on the stage, like just moving around, and that works in an intimate setting because you're larger than life because you're in a smaller venue, right? When you're on a big stage like that, I feel like you need the big visuals with it. But you can definitely do that live sound just like how Bloodywood was. They didn't have to change anything about their sound, just the visuals around it, like to match the storytelling and stuff that they were talking about. And their lyrics are powerful, so having those like added with it, I think would enhance it a lot. I like a little bit of both. I just want the band to be entertained. I don't want to be bored. Again, I'm not trying to shit on Black Veil Brides, but I was just bored out of my mind, man. I just couldn't get into it. I was like, bro.
I think it also depends on like how much you've seen in the past. We've seen just a bajillion shows in our lifetime. True. You know what I mean? So if that was the first show that you've ever gone to, right? And you heard Black Veil Brides playing a nasty set, you might be like, this is fucking awesome.
That's a good point, because if I heard In the End for the first time live, you're right. If I take a step back, In the End was fucking incredible. The solos are off the rail. That was a clip from the Solid Sound podcast that we do live every Sunday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Check out the full podcast for this clip right here. See y'all in the next one. See you.